here. So let's go back to radar. We'll talk about, we can leave up the split screen and split shot there of what we're kind of looking at there. We'll pull up velocity once again, obviously trying to note possibly some rotation here that has been kind of along the Johnson and Washington County line there, where we've maybe seen some indications of where that rotation is at. I'm not too sure, at least at this time. There's nothing that has been too incredibly impressive. Some broad rotations certainly taking place, but that will be one of the concerns we're watching. But these storms are packing quite the punch here in terms of the wind. The National Weather Service noting that potentially some damaging wind taking place here. We've seen some reports kind of right along Kelowna, as we mentioned, Highway 22, which has been moving its way across the area here. Let's just get a little bit of a track in place to kind of know exactly how quickly these storms are moving and how much time that you have in order to get to your safe spot. Because at this point, even if you're not in this tornado warning, but just within these severe thunderstorm warnings, given the intensity that they are bringing, I would suggest finding a place inside there and kind of going to your normal safe shelter that you would place on through there. So here's just a little bit of an idea of when these storms will be moving in. It's 5:53 right now. Riverside Casino, very, very close to you here. You're going to be inside that tornado warning, a threat that we certainly could see tornado here, but some damaging winds, 70, 80 plus miles per hour, moving into your neck of the woods within the next 6 minutes or so. Iowa City, you're looking within the next 7 minutes here. Noticed inside that tornado warning, not within the severe thunderstorm warning, but you're going to be dealing with some very powerful winds as well here. Places like Lone Tree around 604, West Branch 613, and Conesville close to about 617 is when we're expecting obviously the threat for a tornado, but also this very damaging wind threat as well that will be moving across the area here. Still watching some of the reports coming in by the National Weather Service here. We've got possible wall cloud developing on the south side of hills. That was a couple of minutes ago, so possibly indicating that we're getting that wall cloud development, which could be an indication of that potential for rotation that we are seeing there. We are looking at the road warrior there. If you can let me know where that is at there. They are in Iowa City there. Not sure. I'm assuming that they're looking west a little bit there, and we'll try and match that up. Certainly could see maybe a little bit of maybe some lowering there on what you're seeing in terms of that live picture there. Let's punch that live picture up a little bit for me here. Let's see what the road warriors got ongoing. And yeah, so you can see some of those low-hanging clouds there as we were watching for potential rotation here. This is near Iowa City. I know that we also have our camera down south there as well. I'm going to try and take a look at our camera and see if we got anything on our Coralville Skycam as well, and whether or not what we're kind of seeing there. But certainly looking at that threat for a possible tornado. We've had some reports of maybe even a wall cloud there as well. So a great shot there by our crew on what we're kind of looking at there as well. So here's a live look from our Coralville Skycam as these storms are starting to push their way into the area. Going to be dealing with that heavy rain threat as well as the heavy rain, as well as the potential for a tornado and frequent lightning as these storms are going to be moving into the area there just a little bit more. So lots to kind of talk about here as we continue to watch things unfold across the area with that tornado warning that is in effect for mainly portions of Johnson County, at least at this time. You can see this complex of storms has been really fueled by a warm front that has lifted its way to the north. We continue to see severe thunderstorm warnings into Johnson as well as Washington, Keokuk counties here as we've gone throughout the day. Kind of looking at what else the National Weather Service is kind of looking at here. Obviously not any more reports from them on potentially what could be happening there near Iowa City, but certainly seeing some of those reports of a potential wall cloud. You're seeing what we've brought to you on camera as well, where we could potentially be seeing maybe some rotation taking place across the area here. So that tornado warning will continue now for Cedar, Johnson, as well as Washington counties here. Places like Riverside, Hills, obviously going to be dealing with some very, very strong winds as well. And speaking of those strong winds, we just had a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued there, right in that core of the storm, along where that tornado warning is at. We've got just warnings overlapping each other, so it's kind of hard to get that. But for parts of Johnson County, as well as into southern Cedar County and northern Washington County, this new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued is for 80-mile-per-hour winds. So destructive winds starting to move their way through just to the south of Iowa City, near Riverside, as well as places as we zoom in a little bit closer, Lone Tree, Hills, Nichols, down south even near Gladwin and Haskins. These are destructive thunderstorms that are going to be moving in where we could see 70, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. You need to be taking shelter, along with the fact we do have a tornado threat with these storms as well. So we want you inside, in your safe place, giving the fact that we've got some of these just damaging straight line winds that are forming. We've got some video from some of those areas as well here. Once again, looking up at those clouds that we've been seeing. I'm not sure exactly where this is at. Okay. So we're seeing this close to the Iowa City area, where these, you can see obviously just the darkening of the skies that you're going to be dealing with, and the very strong winds as well. These storms starting to increase just a little bit, given the fact that we've got this higher threat for some wind moving in with the increase in that wind speed. We're seeing just a little bit of an increase in the overall speed of these storms. So looking at some thunderstorm warnings for 80+ miles per hour. And we like to say, kind of treat this as a tornado warning. You want to find that interior bathroom or closet with these storms moving through now at about 40 to 50 miles per hour here. Trying to give you a little bit of a look here once again from our Coralville Skycam. Obviously, I've got that pulled up. If we want to take that now, this is looking south a little bit, obviously moving things there, not within maybe the core of those winds, but it's once again that just bowing segment that is located just south of Iowa City. Some heavy rain starting to push into the area, some frequent lightning as well. If we want to pull up maybe some DOT cameras and maybe have those queued, and just let me know when you want to pull those up, maybe even just south of Iowa City there, that might give us a good idea on whether or not some cars are maybe pulling over. But where these strong destructive winds are moving through right now, Hills, you've got Highway 218 that travels north to south. That's south of Iowa City. That's where some very strong winds are going to be ongoing. And Highway 22, which has been hit pretty hard there. We've seen some damage reports out of Kelowna with a trailer being blown over and blown on its side because of the strong winds. Yeah, Highway 22 definitely seeing some very difficult travel conditions there as these storms are moving through at a rather impressive pace and very, very strong. Yeah, how about that? That is US 218 there. Man, it's very, very difficult to see outside with the heavy rain that is pushing through the area right now, along with those very strong winds as well. So checking back in with the National Weather Service, Grayson, I'm not sure if you've seen anything else as well. Have you seen anything on Twitter or any more reports of potentially some damage that have been going on across the area?
Yeah, so one of our reporters actually just shared a video with us. He's down in Iowa City, and you can kind of see these storms that are just working their way into the area. And actually, we are now at about 2,800 people in the state of Iowa that are out of power, and just 5 minutes ago that number was at about 1,300. So it's going up as these storms are moving through, and these counties that have these power outages are Monroe, Wapello, and Wayne counties down to our south and southwest. And oh yes, okay, so they're going to go ahead and show that video down in Iowa City, and you can really just see those clouds and those storms that are kind of heading right towards them. And again, those are the areas that we are starting to see some power outages. So
Yeah, certainly some of just the images that we are getting in now with us having some reporters down that way where we're out there for stories and getting some of that live information in as well. Let's kind of check in on things as they're moving here. Zoom things in a little bit more across the area here as we kind of work our way back down towards the south. So we've got warnings kind of just laid on top of warnings here, but the main concern is sort of where this Boeing segment is currently at here. And now we've got a confirmed tornado that is being confirmed here as well. So we'll check in on that a little bit more as we get a little bit more of an idea of what's kind of going on with these storms here, and we'll take a little bit of a peek here. Let's pull in the Road Warrior real quick here as we get things situated. We can take that full screen as well. We can take that full screen whenever you get the chance there, and we'll get an idea of where this is at least at this point. A little bit of a, I don't know what exactly around, maybe around 80 at that point it looks like, or near 380 looking back. Obviously heavy rain ongoing at least at this time. So we do have a confirmed tornado warning that is now out there. That is in parts of Johnson County. That is a look at 380 going north there. So obviously dealing with that heavy rainfall once again that is moving into the area here. You can come back to radar. I'm going to try and get us situated here on where we're seeing this here. And let's just take me full for right now so we can get a little bit of a look at this confirmed tornado that is currently ongoing here. So having to watch that. I'm not sure, I haven't checked my phone or anything whenever we get the chance to kind of get some information on where that is at, but potentially looking at some of that rotation maybe back there just to the south and west of Iowa City is where we could potentially see where some of that rotation is currently taking place here. But that has been the concern today, that we get some of these tornadoes as well as the damaging wind threat. And we're getting both of those right now with that confirmed tornado that is ongoing here. I know that Grayson and Garrett are kind of setting themselves up right now. Has there been any information on that confirmed tornado and possibly where it's located at?
I have not seen anything other than that they're continuing this warning. I'm not seeing anything on social media really, and I'm not hearing anything otherwise, but here, no. Yeah, now we've got a flash flood warning as well, and but other than that, I'm not seeing anything about that confirmed tornado.
Alrighty. Well, obviously, if you are in the Johnson County area, as well as even northern Washington County, you need to be taking your shelter for that potentially a confirmed tornado that is on the ground right now. We've also got some very strong damaging wind gusts. We're talking winds 80 plus miles per hour. Those are destructive thunderstorms. You need to be seeking shelter with those moving in as well. These will eventually be exiting the area here, at least getting out of parts of Washington County within the next maybe half an hour or so. But focus on this tornado warning here, confirmed tornado that has been ongoing now for the last couple of minutes here, possibly looking at maybe where we could see at least some of that area, or where we could be seeing potentially some of that rotation there. Garrett, I know you're in. Are you checking in and seeing anything as well on what the National Weather Service, or anything that you're noting about radar?
At the moment, no. Just kind of just setting everything up as I am getting in for the meantime.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's kind of the same general thing you've been talking about. Very broad area of rotation. I'm not entirely sure if, actually, I'm going to switch it over to the storm relative velocity, see if that makes any difference on the picture or not. Doesn't really look like it is too much, but yeah, if anything, it probably more so or not right along Highway 1, just north of Sharon Center there, so it does work its way, I think, closer towards the Iowa City downtown area. But I mean, yeah, even some of those radar indicated wind speeds were pretty nasty, especially with I think upwards of about a couple thousand feet, still at about 90 miles an hour. So either way, treat it the same.
Yeah, we were seeing some of those radar estimates in terms of wind speeds that were near 90, close to even 100 miles per hour. That is a little bit higher up in the air, but that's just an indication of what is kind of ongoing. So yeah, looking at potentially where that area or where that tornado is at there near Sharon Center. This is actually fairly close to Iowa City as well, where things at least look like where that rotation is taking place, and we've got that potential tornado. And maybe if we can get get the chance, we can point that Coralville camera kind of back off to the south and west there. We might get at least a decent shot at this as it is moving across the area here a little bit more. So we'll head back to the reflectivity here and we'll try and get a little bit more of just some ideas of kind of what is going on in the grand scheme of things here overall. You can see we do have that confirmed tornado warning that does include parts of Iowa City and then parts of Johnson County as well into northern Washington County, and then a whole slew of severe thunderstorm warnings here as well for wind speeds 70 to 80 miles per hour. We've seen obviously some radar estimates of 90 plus miles per hour, not necessarily at the ground surface, but just some very destructive winds moving across the area here right now that have led to some trailers being blown over on Highway 22 west of Kelowna. We've gotten that report in, and the other concern, you can see there that green box, we do have that flash flood warning out for the intense rainfall that is currently ongoing across the area here, especially for areas along and to the south of Interstate 80. Ponding on roads, flash flooding certainly possible, making those creeks and smaller rivers rise really rapidly here over the next couple of minutes. So as we continue to look at things here, it's all along this line that extends really up into Johnson County, down through Washington County, where we've got the greatest concern. Now, the good news is this will eventually be exiting the area here within the next little bit, but obviously we want to continue to watch that ongoing confirmed tornado that has been confirmed here and on the ground, at least at this point, or has been recently confirmed that has been moving through the area here. So we'll go back, we'll kind of look a little bit more at our velocity images, and at least some good news is that maybe we're not seeing quite the overall intense rotation that we saw maybe on the last couple of scans. That would have indicated a better chance of that tornado currently being down, but that is at least some good news with that. But regardless, some very, very strong winds, heavy rain is what everybody in the area is going to be dealing with right now. If we want to maybe pull up the Coralville camera once again, or maybe if we got some DOT cameras just to give folks a little bit of an idea. So that's our Coralville camera there. That is near the Coral Ridge Mall on the north side of Interstate 80 that runs west to east. You can see the intense rain that is ongoing there on the northern side of the city of Coralville, kind of northern side of Iowa City as well, where we're seeing those heavy rains as well as those very strong damaging wind gusts that continued across the area here. Another shot from a DOT camera there. You can see some folks. Yeah, go ahead, Garrett.
Report at least. Train spotter still confirms tornado on the ground 2.5 miles west of Nichols. Not entirely sure where that is entirely related to. Oh yeah, you're on the radar itself, but that is just the latest thing I've seen pop up in the weather service chat just about a couple seconds ago. Okay,
so 2 miles near Nichols is what we're kind of watching with that now. We can potentially pop up, you can pull Max 1 back up. There you go, yep. So near the Nichols area is where we're potentially seeing where that spotter is still confirming that tornado on the ground for right now. So that would be actually south and west, south and east of Iowa City is where we're potentially seeing that tornado on the ground. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just going ahead and moving you over in that direction, so just kind of get an idea of where that is actually at. In the meantime, overall, I mean, rotation in that area certainly doesn't look as promising, but I mean, it's on the ground. It's on the ground, of course. You say we're seeing video at all, Grayson?
Yeah, I got a video and then a few photos from Twitter of the storm really, and I don't know if you guys saw Rebecca's message, but yeah, she said the tornado was at Phoebe Lane heading towards Iowa City, and they had
so it must be a
debris.
Separate area of rotation then.
Yeah, they had debris and heavy rainfall, but they lost visual contact with it. And then still keeping an eye out on the power outages as well. That number is going up. We're now at 3,000 people without power, and that has gone up about 200 since about 5 minutes ago. And again, those counties are to our southwest with those storms that are moving through towards our area right now.
So potentially you may be looking at 2 areas of rotation there. There might be a little bit of rotation down there near Nichols. I certainly could maybe see that a little bit that is ongoing in that potential tornado that might be on the ground there. So folks, no matter what, you need to be in your safe place, at least at this point here, moving forward. And whether or not you're in Iowa City still, you need to be in your safe spot, taking precautions down in the basement if you can, to protect yourself from potential flying debris that is moving across the area here, and dealing with these very strong winds as well that are pushing through parts of southern eastern Iowa here as it moves on through. That tornado warning still is going to be continued here. Of course, it still has the confirmed tag on it now. As that pushes on through, we're still seeing just that line of very, very strong winds now starting to get at least outside of Johnson County, going to be into Cedar County for sure. And I'm sure folks near the West Branch area and along Interstate 80 there towards Lime City will be dealing with some very, very strong wind gusts there on the interstates, whether you're heading, especially if you're heading towards the west, expecting to try and drive into this. I would suggest kind of pulling over real quick, given the overall limited visuals that you're going to have with the heavy rain and the fact that we've got this confirmed tornado warning that is out as well.
Yeah, and we've got in the National Weather Service chat, a train spotter reports an inch of rain per hour at Oakdale, Iowa. Oakdale, I'm not sure where that is, but they are getting an inch of water per hour. So again, we've been talking a lot about the flash flooding here today throughout the state as we get all of these heavy amounts of rainfall. And so that, again, with flooded roads, we've been showing a few photos and videos of flooded roads and cars that have been going underwater here with all of these storms the past few hours. So that's something to keep in mind as well if you are out on the roads, to make sure you're not driving through flooded waters or flooded roadways. Turn around, make sure you pull over if you can't see because of the heavy rain, to make sure you're not getting in any accidents or anything like that. And then as well as if you're at home, make sure you're in your safe space as we continue to get these warnings throughout the next few minutes and the next few hours as well.
Yeah, and still looking at things here, obviously plenty of severe thunderstorm warnings are being extended rather far out ahead of these storms, which is luckily going to be moving out of our area here within the next little bit. But still, that concern here near Iowa City, as well as Lone Tree, West Branch, and even near West Liberty here, and parts of Interstate 80 still under this confirmed tornado warning here. That overall, I'm not seeing much in the way of rotation here on radar, but certainly could be difficult to kind of demise where those areas of rotation are at, especially maybe some of these little bit weaker or smaller, but tornadoes that can still certainly cause damage as they are pushing across the area here, as more severe thunderstorm warnings continue to get issued off to our east here. Okay, yep, we got another DOT camera here. This would be this is on I-80 near mile marker 253, and yeah, you can see obviously the camera there shaking quite a bit. This is near a West Branch, the West Branch area there, so you can see sort of the sheets of rain moving across the camera there, a lot of shaking as well. So you're going to be, if you're driving west, you're going to be dealing with some very, very strong storms and some very intense winds that are moving in. The good news is was that destructive severe thunderstorm that was for 80 miles per hour in portions of Washington as well as Johnson counties has been canceled, so that is good news. We're continuing to see a couple of just reports near Nichols once again that is starting to get outside of our area a little bit. There into parts of Muscatine County, but they're still looking at possibly report of a tornado that is on the ground there. But we'll continue to watch things here with these severe thunderstorm warnings, as well as that tornado warning still covering portions of southwestern Cedar County there, West Branch area and Rochester. You need to continue to remain in your safe places at this time. We've got that strong line of winds as well, 70 close to maybe even 80 mile per hour in some areas here, but still those reports coming in of potential tornadoes that might be on the ground, but maybe a little bit further to the east of Johnson as well as Washington counties now. Grayson or Garrett, are you guys still seeing anything else in terms of anything, in terms of reports or anything that the National Weather Service is saying?
Looks like they're getting multiple spotty reports for that tornado about 3 miles northwest of Nichols. So that's the one we were just talking about a few minutes ago. And then they're talking about the storms that are moving through eastern Iowa that will be arriving here in about the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes to Muscatine, Davenport, and Moline around 6:45 and 7 o'clock. But other than that, I'm not seeing any more recent photos or videos of these storms on any social medias. And keeping an eye on the power outages. We're still at 3,000 in those counties down in Wapello and Monroe and Wayne counties.
Yeah, so a lot of those areas a little bit further to the east now as you're heading a little bit closer to the Quad Cities, like the Davenports and the Muscatine, not actually in our viewing area, but they are going to get some of those strong winds here. And I'll be interested to see maybe what the folks there at the National Weather Service are kind of wanting to do with this particular tornado warning here, if they're going to decide to maybe start cutting it off a little bit here, as we do continue to see some reports on the leading edge of that, which would be into Muscatine County more. We've had some reports near the Nichols area there. You can see that was just to the along Highway 22 still, east of Lone Tree, east of Riverside, where we've had a couple of reports of some tornadoes that could potentially be on the ground here regardless. But we're going to continue to hold things on since this warning is till 6:30. We are continuing to see, obviously, what is some strong winds across the area here, as well as that tornado warning covering parts of southwestern Cedar County there as well. But overall, hopefully, in terms of that tornado threat, as that moves out of the area, we will have a little bit less of a concern for that moving forward. But that will be certainly something that we're going to be continuing to watch. If we zoom things out a little bit more, I know folks up to the north may be wondering, I'm getting some lightning and thunder that is ongoing here as well. You certainly are dealing with that, but all of the severe weather today has pretty much been along and to the south of Interstate 80. So if we turn on the lightning, you'll get an idea of that. Some frequent lightning ongoing, even some up there north of Cedar Rapids into northeastern Lynn County, to Delaware and Jones County. No severe storms up that way near Anamosa, Monticello, as well as Central City, but some maybe a good rush of wind as these storms are moving in, as well as just some frequent lightning and some heavy rain that is currently taking place up there. That extends all the way up into northeastern Iowa. Places like Dubuque will be getting some heavier rain here in the next little bit as those storms continuing to push their way to the area. But the concern still remains. We've got those severe thunderstorm warnings out into Johnson as well as Washington County, even parts of Keokuk County now, but southeastern Keokuk County there, you're probably in the clear, at least at this point. But you can see that those severe thunderstorm warnings are for 70 mile per hour winds. That's a little bit better news from what we saw a little bit earlier when we had severe thunderstorm warnings for 80 mile per hour winds, as well as some radar indications of potential gust over 90 miles per hour. That was taken a little bit higher up into the atmosphere, not exactly at ground level, but certainly we're seeing some of those things translating over into that, as well as seeing some reports of damage along Highway 22 there near Riverside, as well as the Kelowna area near Wellman as well. So we're continuing to hold things on. This warning goes until 6:30 at this time. If we have more video or anything else that we would like to share and get in within the next little bit, that is certainly fine. Just holler in my ear and we can toss to that. But that leading edge of storms starting to exit the area, except for Cedar County, that is still certainly going to be a concern there. So you're seeing those winds pick up near Rochester, Tipton, certainly going to see increases in wind as well. And all of that to stretch from Iowa City and points to the east there. That is where we're going to be seeing that. And they actually issued a new tornado warning. I'm seeing that now. This is a brand new tornado warning covering portions of Cedar County, that looks like.
Honestly, kind of looking at the past couple of scans, watching that overall outflow towards the south continue to work its way through the Iowa City area. Be interested to see what some of those wind reports were out of that area, but that far north side has been where we've been watching that area of rotation as it has been continuing to get more and more occluded. That's been kind of trending northwards, while that circulation itself hasn't been very tight in terms of what that signature looks like, but I definitely do agree with that new tornado warning, at least in terms of shifting that further north and expanding that, just due to the fact that that broad rotation is still there and more likely than not driven by that pure outflow. So if it does touch down, I don't expect it to be on the ground for very long, but yeah, that whole northern side has been kind of that key area I've been kind of keeping an eye on here over the past couple of minutes or so.
Yeah, and that was the one kind of near the Iowa City area that we were watching a little bit earlier as well. And as you kind of mentioned, a lot of times with these kind of storms and everything we're dealing with, these could be pretty quick touched. We could see pretty quick touchdowns with those kind of tornadoes that almost at times we kind of feel like we're lagging behind on radar, and we don't exactly, and we're not exactly be able to pick that up. But we do have some more shots there of the DOT on our DOT cameras there, looking east on Interstate 80 as well. You can see we've got a couple of cars with the hazards on both lanes, whether you're traveling west or you're traveling east. Yeah, it looks like it's slow going, whether or not you're in a smaller car or definitely if you're in a semi there. But yeah, continuing to see that new tornado warning that has been issued. That will be for parts of Cedar County there. This will start to work its way out of the area a little bit, but if you're in the Tipton area, you need to be taking your safety precautions there and getting into shelter, as well as Rochester, West Branch, continuing to see at least some of those some of the same sort of structure and kind of the same storm modes favoring where we could maybe see a couple of embedded tornadoes with these storms as they are pushing into the area there. So all along that line, obviously on the northern edge of this storm is where we're kind of watching things there, and obviously makes quite a bit of sense on why that we see this tornado warning continue to be extended further out. So as we continue to monitor those things there in Cedar County, not the most impressive radar scans, and we might just not get that in terms of seeing that exactly what we see on radar to potentially what is happening outside and on the ground. That just sometimes happens when we get these real quick tornadoes that spin up rather quickly, and then we don't see maybe what translates on radar to what we're seeing.
They did say new tornado warning coming here pretty quickly for circulation over Monticello.
Okay, and we were just up there kind of talking about those storms, at least at this point, how they had not been severe, but had quite a bit of lightning on them. And so we'll be kind of
One
watching
word of caution, too, is it is going to be moving its way, at least in this time, through that little radar error beam, essentially, as hitting that corn tower down around the Quad Cities. So that's going to be causing some weird radar artifacting there, but the signature is certainly present.
I'm seeing that now, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty close to, pretty much right over top of Monticello there, laying where the, and there you go. We've got that brand new.
I'd give it maybe another scan or two to get a better idea, because, I mean, that's real hard to say right on that error spike, but still concerning nonetheless.
Certainly concerning. So you're talking about places near Monticello, as well as Scotch Grove, Cascade, Bernard, Otter Creek. That does include highways 136 there, as well as 38 that will be moving into Monticello. So we'll just put back on our reflectivity right now, but that is certainly another one of those concerning trends. We talked about that storm that was a little bit farther to the north up there in places like Delaware County, as well as close to Dubuque and Jones County as well. And so there in Delaware County, we are going to be seeing that tornado warning, as well as parts of Jones County as well, where they're seeing that potential rotation taking place there, because we do have a little bit of a circulation that is in play up there. But we are kind of right in that sort of artifact area where we've got the radar beam. smokes a building down there near the radar site in Davenport, and there also will be a severe thunderstorm warning that goes along with that storm now. So the increasing in intensity at least a little bit for right now here as we go throughout tonight. So 2 tornado warnings across the area, one up there near the Monticello area covering parts of Delaware County, a good chunk of Jones County, and then extending a little bit further into Dubuque County. And that's still south of the Dubuque metro area, and then we've got that tornado warning down to the south a little bit more, where we've continued to see kind of like some broad rotation, several reports of tornadoes there near Cedar County as well. At this point, haven't seen a whole lot of reports coming out about whether or not we're seeing maybe some wall clouds, or we have seen a little bit more of a lowering there and potential tornado in some of those areas.
Yeah, I'd say another spot too I'd probably draw a little bit of attention to is that little inflow notch we are seeing on just the south side of Tipton. Not really anything too particular for now, but as that outflow boundary does continue to push its way outwards, that is going to be an area that's very likely around the northern leading edge of that outflow where you typically see those quick spin-ups, just kind of due to the dynamics at play in that regard. But yeah, seeing a little bit of an inflow notch. Hopefully it's just a radar artifact or just a cloud artifact in that regard and not a actual inflow. That would be typically tied to rotation, but there is just a smidgen there, especially right along with that air rising upwards. That'll be something that'll be at least worth keeping a close eye on here over the next couple minutes.
Certainly, yeah, and we will continue to monitor things on both of these tornado warnings that are out across the area here. As we're going to just bump back and forth here. We'll head up near Monticello again. Obviously, heavy rain ongoing, quite a bit of lightning near the Monticello area here as well. We'll put on a little bit more, and certainly he's just showing some signs of rotation there near Monticello potentially, as this area of rotation is kind of held together over the last couple of scans, and certainly the last couple of minutes here. So places like Cascade near Scotch Grove, Bernard, make sure you're heading into that tornado safe spot and trying to get down to the basement if you can. Or maybe an interior bathroom or closet. Those are always decent areas to try and protect yourself. Flying debris obviously always a concern here, as well as that severe thunderstorm warning that is up there now for 60-mile-per-hour winds. So regardless, going to be dealing with some strong gusty winds as these storms are moving across the area there. Let's see. Continue to kind of just bop back and forth between both of these storms here, trying to watch on that leading edge, maybe near Tipton, on where we could at least potentially see some areas of rotation there. Not seeing it at least at this point, but obviously a lot of spotters out today, a lot of storm chasers kind of watching things live in person. They can obviously give great information to the National Weather Service, to us, to continue to kind of update things when we maybe can't see it necessarily on radar, but it certainly is happening across the area here. So guys back there, you guys seen anything else that might be worth noting or anything? Okay, we do have some video from Iowa City there. Yeah, I believe this is the video from Parnell, if I'm correct there. You can see that we've got some very strong winds that move through there. This was a little bit ago, of course. You can see those trees really blowing and a lot of those rain sheets moving pretty quickly across the screen there from left to right. So that was some of the impacts that we saw on that southern line of the storms, where we had potential winds that were 80+ miles per hour that were moving through the area here. So continuing to watch this tornado warning up near Monticello once again. Some area of rotation obviously potentially near the Monticello area, a little bit broad overall. Haven't seen any reports, at least at this time, from the National Weather Service on whether or not they've had any indication of a tornado up there that might be on the ground, but certainly concerning overall here. And this is kind of what we sort of thought could happen throughout today. We kind of wondered how things would play out, and it was one of those things where all hazards and threats were in play in terms of what we could see out of these very strong storms storms that we're going to be pushing through the area here, and that tornado threat is continuing here even at around 6:30. So just going to reset things real quick here and give a little bit of an overview since it is a little bit after 6:30 here. We've missed both our 5 and 6 o'clock newscasts. So the story has been the weather today. We've had many strong storms for areas kind of along and south of Interstate 80. That's been tornado warnings. That's been some very strong damaging wind gusts, and we've had reports down there near the Kelowna area as well as near Riverside, southern Johnson County, northern Washington County, where we've had some very, very difficult, very strong winds that knocked over some stuff. I know we have some pictures near the Riverside area here. A fantastic look at that shelf cloud that has been pushing across the area. We've seen some tremendous shots of that moving across parts of eastern Iowa today. Just beautiful and gorgeous pictures of that, so appreciate folks sending those in to us here. But we'll head back in terms of what we're tracking, at least at this time, and we've got 2 tornado warnings out right now, one of those covering parts of Cedar County, where we've continued to see sort of broad rotation taking place in the area here. That has been certainly a little bit of the concern near that sort of Tipton area, Wilton included in that, eventually towards New Liberty, which can continue on. We'll continue to see that rotation continue on as we move forward here. Thank you very much. I've been struggling a little bit here. Losing the voice. I'm losing the voice quickly. I'll let you take over here for a second.
Certainly, yeah. So, yeah, in the meantime, again, as we were kind of talking about, a lot of that rotation still at least picking up a little bit, especially right around Monticello. Again, for the most part, as that outflow boundary does continue to push its way outwards off towards our south. Fortunately, nothing too, at least in terms of nothing too telling as far as where any rotation would be out ahead of that leading edge. Of course, as things are going to continue to stay pretty outflow dominant, and that was kind of the big thing we've at least we're trying to talk about throughout our day today. Is once these showers and thunderstorms are going to start to become a lot more mature and become a lot more linear, they were going to become more of a wind-driven threat. And of course, that could still give way to the potential for a brief spin-up, especially as these outflow boundaries continue to push their way outwards. And that's just kind of the overall dynamics of being on the northern edge of any kinds of moving wind in that regard. You tend to get those little vortices to spin up a little bit. But in the meantime, again, as we do continue forward with that long tornado warning that does continue on well into, well, good majority of Cedar County, as well as into Clinton and Muscatine County, as well as the north side of Scott County as well. That'll be something that's going to continue to push its way outward. And again, those leading edges is something we'll watch for very closely. While that does continue to depart, at least portions of Cedar County, probably within the next about, I want to say probably in the next 15-20 minutes or so, that should be at least beneficial. However, there has still been this rather large, broad area of a little bit of weird rotation going on right around here that we've been kind of watching for, especially as you can certainly see that little donut hole looking thing there. Certainly nothing in terms of tornado on the ground with that picture, especially when you switch over to velocity. It's just kind of a very muddy picture. Certainly some very broad rotation higher in the atmosphere, but fortunately, at least that doesn't look too overly promising. However, further off towards our north by Monticello, that's kind of more so than not kind of more promising side of things in the meantime, especially as that little blotch of green does continue to work its way through our area. And I totally hit the wrong button there. That's my bad. I'm just going to go back a few scans, which I was used to the other computer for that one.
That's what happens when we're switching computers and in different shows. But yeah, you can see here as Garrett kind of dragged that back and forward, this has been sort of a pretty consistent rotation that we've kind of seen near Monticello. You can see yeah, right through there, that moved its way on through, kind of right along near Monticello, and sort of continues on here where we've got the green and red that are meeting up there and a little bit closer to northeastern in northeastern Iowa into northern Jones County there, where that tornado warning has continued. Nothing confirmed, at least at this time, but certainly has been some consistent rotation across that portion of the viewing area here as we've gone throughout this evening here. So just noting that there's Highway 136 that's moving through Monticello to Cascade there a little bit, as well as Highway 151 that travels through that particular area as well, a little bit more well-known stretch of the roads there across the area, but that has been pretty consistent overall.
Yeah, certainly. And another thing kind of to note with that too is just still a heavy amount of rainfall associated with that, especially as these areas of rotation continue to work their way through, regardless if it's near that Monticello area or further down towards the south, both of which have seen a lot of rainfall here with a lot of these showers and thunderstorms. I know Grayson was talking a lot about the potential, or seeing reports of some of the flooding, flash flooding with some of the showers and thunderstorms whenever this data chooses to load, which that's coming in here in just a second. There we go. So at least in terms of radar estimations are concerned, we're kind of take a closer look at that Monticello area. That's almost upwards of about 4.5 inches of rainfall per hour. Now, this would be if it were to sit there for the entire duration of that hour. Fortunately, that's not necessarily the case, as it does continue to push its way across the area. There's a little bit of a 1 hour loop there. So it certainly is moving. But regardless of that fact, it is still putting down a lot of rain. So likely seeing some flash flooding, especially throughout portions in Delaware County and whatnot, even into Johnson County as well, or Cedar County, sorry, as well, with some of these higher areas of at least radar estimated precipitation rates. You can certainly see just off towards the northwest of Tipton, pushing upwards of almost nearly 5 inches of rainfall per hour. So a lot of moisture associated with this. And of course, on top of the potential for that rotation and the tornado warnings themselves, the prolific amount of rainfall will also very likely make things very difficult to be able to spot, as these things likely to become a lot more rain-wrapped with all the moisture in the area.
Yeah, and as just noting on that, we've got multiple flash flood warnings out, especially across some of our southern counties there from Cedar into Johnson. I know that we've got a picture from flooding, I believe on the east side of Iowa City, west side of Iowa City. Yeah. Well, there you go. Check out that car. And that can happen very, very quickly. You're talking about those storms that can dump, anywhere from a couple of inches in a very short amount of time and have a lot of rain associated with them. So you're getting pictures like that. Yeah. And your car you're left it on the street and then it's flooded over like that. So make sure if you're running into areas like that, luckily we've still got some daylight outside. It's a little bit easier to see right now. But if you run into areas like that, always make sure that you are turning yourself around. That's just the key to all of this heavy rain that is ongoing. Plenty of flash flood warnings out there. That does include Iowa City. So we're seeing that. Obviously, that's those green boxes there. A little bit of a shift in that tornado warning, shortening up, just covering a little bit less now of Cedar County there, but certainly kind of looking at that, as Garrett put it, the donut hole or whatever you see, and up there noticing some areas of rotation, and then on that leading edge certainly could see some of that rotation as well. The good news is there's the border of Cedar County, and so that should be working its way to the east a bit more, and will likely get out of the area on that leading edge of that within the next couple of minutes. But we still have that tornado warning that is up a little bit further to the north there in parts of Jones County, Delaware County, and then into Dubuque County as well, where we've had consistent rotation ongoing around the Monticello area. So kind of a lot to watch from the rain, the damaging winds that we've seen throughout really all of this afternoon and evening now, and that consistent tornado threat that has continued here a couple of minutes after 6:30 now.
I'll go ahead and add too, Case, and I'm probably going to pop up a bit of a muddy radar picture here in terms of what we're looking at. So this essentially is our turbulence tracker. One way you can kind of discern areas of winds that are going outwards, and where we usually see that leading edge, typically right out ahead of that is where we're going to be watching for that initial gust of winds. But due to that outflowing winds and whatnot, you're certainly starting to see a little bit more of these higher or different colorings of what we're seeing here, at least on our turbulence tracker, and that's at least an indication that we are starting to see more of these winds on the back end of things as this air starts to come back down and kind of push its way back out once again. Of course, as this air gets lifted rather rapidly skyward, gravity says it's got to come right back down. Of course, once it hits the ground, it's got to go somewhere. So it's rushing outwards, and it's very likely we are still seeing some pretty hefty winds continuing to move along Interstate 80 there. So for those of you around Tipton, you certainly probably know what I'm talking about in terms of having or seeing or likely feeling some of those winds moving its way through the area. But of course, beyond that, the overall rotation itself certainly at least does look to likely be lacking a little bit more in that regard, but still seeing a lot of those outgoing winds not looking to be all that pleasant, especially further down towards the south, closer towards Muscatine County, really close to Muscatine, really some of those are really bright blues. I believe we can get some of the radar estimated. That's around 73 miles an hour or so, and this is getting to be pretty close to the radar beam itself, talking about maybe a couple thousand feet, if not less than that or so, off of the ground. So this should be getting a fairly good picture, at least near Muscatine County, of some of those stronger wind speeds and whatnot. And as this whole area continues, it could just push its way outwards through the south side of Cedar County. Likely, again, still having some of those, we'll call it wake winds or something like that, as it does continue to push its way through the last pits of Cedar County. But kind of taking a peek back up north again as we kind of still have that tornado warning ongoing throughout portions of Delaware, Dubuque, and Jones, Jackson County. That'll continue to push its way off towards our east. Fortunately, this does not look nearly as promising. I did kind of expect having it work its way through that little radar glitch line there. That could certainly give some false signals, but certainly I definitely agree with it having that tornado warning there, at least in the meantime. But the good news is I don't think that overall picture looks as promising as far as the tornado threat is concerned. I'd be more so at least worried about having more of those outgoing winds as this does continue to become a little bit more, call it towards a mature stage, especially as those winds start to work their way right on back down. And that's, again, kind of the same general thing as those storms further down towards the south, likely starting to cut off a little bit of that inflowing winds. Jacob, you did say you had something?
Yeah, we got photos from Pleasant Prairie, Iowa. So that's down in Muscatine. Is that how you say it? Muscatine? Yep. Yeah. So just southeast of us. So we got those in the National Weather Service chat. Some pretty cool photos of the storm down there. That was just about just a few minutes ago.
So yeah, pretty good picture there. Those outgoing winds as the shelf cloud, really. I mean, it's pretty typical for most thunderstorms, especially on that leading edge, and it's a pretty prominent leading edge out ahead of that, especially with those outgoing winds. For those down further towards the south near Muscatine, yeah, that'd be something that'd be a little alarming, especially with those winds very likely to start gushing out here pretty quick.
Yeah, and kind of even maybe starting to see that a little bit just ahead of those that kind of line of storms, maybe some stronger winds moving in. Obviously, all of those storms are now starting to exit out of the area. This is getting a little bit into far eastern Iowa, along the Mississippi, even into Illinois. But we've still got this very large box, this large tornado warning for parts of Cedar County there. That initial leading edge has actually moved out of the area here. That's a little bit farther to the east now. We continue to kind of monitor things out here, and as we've kind of noted over the past couple of minutes or so, we haven't necessarily seen anything too crazy when it does come to those velocities and kind of indicating rotation moving through the area. Might have been a little bit more prevalent back there, of course, when we were talking about some tornadoes near the Iowa City area when we had that confirmed tornado warning, but certainly maybe not quite as impressive of what we saw a little bit earlier, but obviously those winds will continue to be a big cause for concern, especially near the Tipton area there and points off towards the east here as these storms are now starting to at least get out of our area a little bit, but certainly that the issues will still remain in terms of the heavy rainfall that we are seeing over these areas, and that's why we've got flash flood warnings that continue across into Johnson County, Cedar County, even down south into parts of Keokuk, Iowa, and Washington counties as well. We do have that second tornado warning that is still up to the north there, a little bit north of the area here a little bit. I'll try and just send us up there and get a decent idea of kind of what is going on and give you some information up there. We still have this ongoing tornado warning here. If we kind of just back things up a little bit, we continue to see, of course, what was a little bit of some of that rotation certainly warranted that tornado warning near Monticello. We've kind of continued to see at least some sort of broad, consistent rotation, but this is now maybe looking a little bit more like maybe we are just going to see more of that wind threat moving forward here, which would be nice, but certainly we'll still be dealing with those pockets of heavy rainfall that are moving across the area here. Continuing to look, haven't seen any more real reports coming out of these storms here on whether or not we've had any confirmed tornadoes, on whether or not people are kind of spotting some wall clouds or maybe a funnel or something like that. But regardless, going to be dealing with some of those strong winds, frequent lightning, and a lot of heavy rain that will be moving into the area there as well, as we continue to look at things there. So those 2 tornado warnings just to our south. I will have our Dubuque camera pulled up. This obviously isn't close to that warning, but we might be able to pull that up here real quick and give us just an idea of sort of what some of that rain is. And luckily you're still able to see quite a bit, and the heaviest of that rain certainly not near the Dubuque area, but that is looking back off to the west, and obviously you can see it's getting a little bit darker there. Have had some rain move through. Will be some heavier rain moving into the Dubuque area here within probably the next 10 to 15 minutes, and might see a nice little downpour with that tornado warning still well off to the south and west of the Dubuque area there. So continuing to see this warning there. Lights flickering in here a little bit right now, as we still got this tornado warning ongoing near Cascade as well as Bernard, Otter Creek. The National Weather Service has not indicated anything if they are going to maybe expire these early or continue on, but this will go until 7:15 at this moment, with one of 2 warnings that are out, as we still are watching this situation down here in Cedar County, as we've seen just some indicators of rotation. Really since this moved through Johnson County earlier. We've had a couple of reports of tornadoes out of that particular storm, but you can see that leading edge now has actually exited our viewing area, will be moving actually out of the area here, a little bit closer to the Quad Cities, and even maybe a little bit more of that outflow boundary, indicating a good rush of wind out ahead, with plenty of more flash flood warnings out past this. I know we had some more pictures here near the Iowa City area. Obviously, this was about a half hour ago when we got some pictures in here of some of those possible kind of indicators of that rotation that we were talking about. Some great pictures there near the Iowa City area, as folks were kind of looking at maybe some lower clouds moving in. There is sort of that leading edge, the tremendous shots that we've seen of this storm as it moved into the area there, with those strong wind gusts, as well as a lot of heavy downpours and rain, which will continue here. So back to radar we go here. We'll touch on some of the other things. The rain has been a big concern today as well. So we do have, as we've mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have those flash flood warnings out, parts of Iowa, Johnson, Keokuk, Washington. That does include Iowa City there. More flash flood warnings out and a little bit further north into Johnson County, as well as Cedar County a little bit more. So that's just the combination of that heavy rain. But the good news is we're getting a little bit closer here. All right, we're seeing at least part of that tornado warning up there in near Jones County, canceled out of Delaware County now. We still continue to see possibly some broad rotation on this, but I think this might be coming a little bit more maybe of that wind threat now. Recent
scans, at least on the far south side near Onslow, looked a little concerning. I'm not entirely sure if that was just a quick little radar artifact or not, but certainly had some spiking within the last few scans in terms of a really rapid rotational signature. But again, it is on the south side of, you can kind of see it there as you're looping through it. But one thing I would kind of put against that there is, again, it's on the south side of that inherent outflow boundary. So that's going to kind of start to induce more anticyclonic rotation, which not necessarily rotation you need for tornadic development, but certainly not going to rule that potential out either in the meantime.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point right there by Garrett. So yeah, we could kind of see on some of those scans where we might have had at least some sort of maybe little bit better rotation, but given the location that it's on the south side of those storms, it kind of makes you question and wonder just a little bit here. But certainly still dealing with those strong winds down there. The good news is we can tell you that places like Iowa City, now out of any severe thunderstorm warnings there, that has cleared out of the Johnson County and Washington County area there. So we're getting a little bit closer. The reason we're staying on here as it's now 6:50 here this evening is because we've still got these tornado warnings, and obviously we got to stay on here and kind of keep you updated on what's going on. We haven't seen a whole lot of impressive signatures from us here, but we have had some reports of a little bit more lowering, some wall clouds, even a few tornadoes there across the area. But you can see that continuing to see that strong line of storms, which has a pretty impressive kind of look to it in the front, where we're seeing some of those strong winds now enter the Quad Cities area and Davenport, and as well as the Bettendorf area. But we're looking more at potentially just some winds that are moving through now and a lot of heavy rain. So still looking at that tornado warning up there, Dubuque and Jones County. This does continue here now. Haven't seen any more reports on anything in terms of whether or not we've seen any confirmation, whether there's been some lowerings and stuff with these storms, but just some very, very strong winds continuing to move through the area here now. Grayson, Garrett, I'm not sure if you got anything else, if you've seen any other reports or anything on social media or anything else. I think we're just kind of stuck in this pattern here where we've got a couple of these warnings as we've gone throughout this evening here, that we're kind of transitioning maybe from that tornado threat back to that wind threat here.
Yeah, honestly, other than the past couple of photos that we've pulled up, I haven't seen much on social media, which I guess is a good sign. That means people are staying safe inside. But the pictures we have received have been pretty good. But again, nothing much other than that. Now it looks like we've got a flash flood warning for Johnson, Keokuk, and Washington and Louisa counties. So again, I said it earlier, if you are out on the roads, don't drive through flooded roads. The National Weather Service likes to say, turn around, don't drown. Don't drive through flooded roadways. A lot of deaths are caused from people in vehicles driving through flooded waters. So turn around if you do see some water on the road. Don't drive through it, and make sure you're keeping an eye on, again, the roads if you are out. And we have been talking about it a lot. We are expected to get heavy rainfall from all of this rain today, as well as looking ahead into the end of the week on Thursday. And yeah, you can see here the rainfall totals in the past 12 hours. A lot of areas after tonight are going to be receiving 1 to even 3 inches of rain. And again, this is going to be contributing to our ongoing flooding, the river levels rising. We've been talking a lot about the Mississippi River and then the Cedar River. So yeah, we're just really keeping an eye on all this heavy rain that we're getting here tonight.
Yeah, you can see some of the rainfall estimates here. This is over the last 12 hours, but as these storms have moved their way on through, not an official look at exactly how much rain we've gotten, but at least a good indication. You can see some of those areas there as those storms move through. You're talking 2 to 3 inches of rain and 45 minutes to an hour as those storms kind of move through the area slowly. So some reports of about, radar estimates of 2.8 to 3 inches down there in Iowa, as well as Washington counties. A little bit farther north there, where we've got some of those storms near Buchanan and Delaware County, you're still looking at some of those heavier rain totals, 1 to maybe 2 inches. Of course, we did have some rain a little bit earlier today throughout the morning as well. I know we got another picture down there. We've seen quite a bit of this. This is a video from where at? Is this Iowa? West side of Iowa City here. You can see what is now a pretty significant little waterway there. Westgate Street there, and yeah, you can see that turned into a little bit more of maybe a river there in somebody's yard or along the side of the road there. So that can happen very, very quickly. We've had some struggles to get some of that struggles for some of the urban areas and the storm sewers and the everything to kind of keep up with some of those areas of very intense rain right now. Garrett, I know you're pulling something up here and kind of looking.
Trying to look at see from another perspective if it looked any better or not. Just kind of watching for, again, more of that I want to kind of call it a pseudo wake low, essentially, as that kind of big area of rotation on the backside still shows a lot of, I think I can even loop that fairly slowly here over the past hour or so, which that'll, in and of itself, zoom out just a little bit. Yeah, you can see this big area of low that just continues to spin around a little bit, which is likely to induce a little bit of obviously broad rotation in that regard, but there's just been still some signs of a little bit of pulsing here and there in terms of a little bit of rotational signature, but for the most part, a lot of it is still kind of a very messy thing, but something keeping a close eye on here over the next couple hours.
Yeah, and at least we're going to get that exiting the area here within the next little bit. Obviously, but we're continuing to kind of watch that and ongoing. The National Weather Service is continuing both tornado warnings across the area here. We've been really watching this particular one up here to the north, and that had some decent looking kind of rotation. It was in an area that we didn't know if we had a little bit of artifact coming in near Monticello, but we're continuing to watch that potential storm here, but maybe becoming
a lot more outflow.
A lot more outflow and a little bit more wind dominant there as that's starting to creep its way into Jackson County now and southern parts of Dubuque County there.
So the Monticello Airport happen to get anything?
That might be a good thing to check on and see if they had any winds there. But yeah, we kind of look at things specifically in this sort of way when we get kind of that sort of Boeing segment. You've heard it talked about before a few times, but this is an indication that the storm becoming a little bit more kind of outflow dominant, a little bit more of that wind threat, maybe not seeing quite the tornado threat, and just kind of hinting with that line there as that moves its way on in, that we are likely seeing a little bit more of that issue when it comes to some strong wind gusts. We're talking maybe 55 to 60 miles per hour in those areas, but still have these tornado warnings ongoing. The one up north here is until 7:15. We'll have to see whether or not they want to hold on to that here. We have this big, massive tornado warning that we've seen across much of Cedar County here within the last half an hour or so, when we haven't been able to see a whole lot of rotation on our end, or at least a nice little signature with that, but certainly have seen some of those strong winds associated with these storms and the heavy rain. Luckily here within the next couple of minutes, the threat down there in Cedar County should be coming to an end. Obviously, we've been watching just kind of the backside of that system, that sort of area that continues to spin backwards on the backside of that storm there. So eventually those might even be running into each other a little bit and kind of combining north up there into those storms that are right there into Jackson as well as Jones County. But I think overall we're looking at more of a wind threat, but we just kind of have to hold on to things. I apologize. I know we've kind of disrupted some programming today in terms of your newscast here, but we're going to try and get things out of here. That tornado warning will be continued up there for Dubuque and Jackson counties. We got a little bit more on it here, but you can see they are beginning to kind of shrink things a little bit here. So that is a little bit shorter now. That warning box is very small. That'll just be northern parts there of Dubuque County. You're talking about Bernard, just to the just south of the Dubuque Regional Airport there. Obviously, you have Highway 61 that goes right through that there if you're kind of heading between Dubuque and Maquoketa and all those other places up there as you're getting a little bit closer to the Mississippi River. But I think you'll be dealing with some winds. It might be interesting to see what the Dubuque Regional Airport has for a wind gust, as well as those storms are inching their way a little bit closer here now. But we'll continue to hold on. We've got about 15 minutes on this particular warning here, and maybe we'll be able to kind of let that go. And we've still got parts of Cedar County down there still in that warning, but that part of most of that storm is now exiting the area as well as those storms push to the east. Back behind that, places like Iowa City in the clear now. You're talking Riverside and Kelowna that got hit pretty hard by some very strong wind gusts. You are in the clear down to Washington here as well. Keota, North English, Williamsburg, all in the clear. Anybody south of Interstate 80 and west of those storms now, you are going to be in the all clear. You're still dealing with a little bit of rain that is ongoing, and you're certainly, if you're trying to get out maybe now and travel a little bit, we're going to be kind of seeing, you might be seeing some flash flooding that is taking place there now. But overall, things are going to be improving a little bit more. You're just going to be looking at maybe some flash flooding in the area, so you need to be watching for that, especially as we get a little bit later into tonight. Becomes very, very hard to see some flooded roadways there and some of that urban flooding when it becomes dark out. You can't notice it quite as well, so that will be something to watch for. We're continuing to monitor those storms up there. We're continuing to watch those storms up near Dubuque as well as Jackson County. They're still going to hold on to this warning here because it had intensified so fast, but there have been no reports out of the area. It has been slightly weaker, which we have been noticing maybe more of the wind threat out of that here, but it's kind of a tough position to kind of be in up there. It's a little bit farther away from the radar site in terms of what they're seeing, but it looks like we're getting sort of these storms to all form into that massive big line that we'll see kind of moving across the area here as that southern storm and everything kind of combines. But the severe thunderstorm warning now canceled for Delaware. We'll just kind of have to see how the intensity continues here as we go over the next 15 minutes or so, since we are after 7 o'clock here now. So we do have a Dubuque DOT cam. You can take a look at that. Obviously going to see some rain ongoing here as well. So that is some decent news up there as well. We got that, but you're going to be dealing with some stronger winds moving in within the next little bit here, so that might make things a little bit more difficult to watch. Now, down a little bit further to the south, we just had parts of that tornado warning get canceled for Cedar County here. I know we're moving things around a little bit, and we're back up north there.
Trying to get the other the radar dome up from the La Crosse, so that gives a little bit better of a broad picture at least. And I wonder if I can actually probably just hot turn that off so it doesn't keep switching on me.
You certainly could turn it off, but yeah, trying to hit La Crosse's radar up there might give a little bit better of a picture.
I just turned it off entirely. Oops.
Kind of a tough spot, bouncing back and forth between those particular areas there, but obviously still could see some of those indications maybe of some rotation somewhere in there. That's just south of the Dubuque Regional Airport maybe that we could be seeing some of that rotation there.
Do we have, make sure I can pop that up.
So still that maybe broad area of rotation that we're looking at. The National Weather Service has continued this. I know some folks might be hopping on now at 7 o'clock. You're thinking about your evening programming as well. We apologize that we're cutting into your programming here. We've still got at least one tornado warning here in the viewing area. This is up there near Dubuque and Jackson counties. We've been kind of monitoring things up here. We've had some tighter rotation not too far back near the Monticello area. Overall, we haven't seen quite as much rotation out of this storm. Has looked a little bit maybe more wind dominant, but we have been continuing to kind of monitor things because there have been some sort of areas that have produced some broader rotation that you can kind of at least see for right now. So that is the one lone tornado warning that is left. You can see the tornado warning down there in Cedar County has been allowed to expire. You're still going to have obviously that rain that is ongoing down there. You've got flash flood warnings out for places like Tipton, Rochester, near West Branch, and parts of Interstate 80 as well. And that stretches all the way towards Iowa City, where we've seen flash flooding there and probably some difficulties traveling today. But just that one tornado warning yet. Let me know if we have any more pictures or anything as well. We can take a look at a couple of DOT cameras, maybe up there near Dubuque as well, as we're kind of monitoring things. But you can see probably getting close to maybe seeing that leading edge of those storms pretty close. Highway 61 is just right there, just ahead of it, as you can see, down towards Otter Creek from the airport and everything. So we're still looking at that. Here's another look up there near Dubuque from our DOT cameras. Obviously, Dubuque not in the heaviest of the rain right now. Still dealing with some showers and storms that are ongoing up there. but haven't been too crazy and haven't been dealing with the severe weather up there in those specific areas right now. You can see you will be seeing a lot of lightning though associated with these storms here with that one tornado warning that remains. So we'll continue to hold off on this. This does go until 7:15 right now. We haven't had any reports from spotters or anything, or any kind of emergency managers and their spotters, whether or not we've seen some indications of maybe some rotation, wall cloud, things like that. But we continue to have that severe thunderstorm warning on there as well, with wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. Those are really at this point the only warnings in the area. Everybody south of that dealing with some heavy rain ongoing still, but all the warnings are focused up there in Jackson and into Dubuque County there, which will hopefully be expiring within the next little bit. Guys, I don't know if you're seeing anything else. Garrett, checking in on some kind of some storm chasers or anything. Are you seeing any other reports or anything?
A lot of shelf clouds, except they're a little too far south really to get anything. They're still pretty close to that, looks like near Fairfield at the moment. So that's a little too far away for that in that regard. The only thing really too is just kind of watching that leading edge on right around the Zwingle there, right as it's starting to cross Highway 61. I know it's a lot of that outflow dominant. It's kind of what we were talking about too, with that starting to evolve into kind of a longer line stretching at least from about Highway 20 down to just north of Highway 30 here. But in the meantime, again, yeah, that leading edge is still kind of causing some concern. So I definitely see why the warning is still going. However, we are starting to get into that far eastern extent of that severe thunderstorm warning, or not severe thunderstorm warning, the tornado warning itself, which, yeah, latest radar update there, you can see is just touching that. So if it really was, promising in terms of that rotational signature, that would certainly be, I would certainly see them expanding that. I know they're currently discussing things at the moment, but it's definitely still showing signs of broad rotation from the La Crosse radar, except that beam is coming in at around 10,000 feet or so. So that's a really high-end look from it in that regard. So that's going to make things rather difficult. Actually, I believe if you go into the radar itself, you'll be able to switch in terms of what view. Yeah, that guy. And then I believe it should be their little dot. If you turn off radar only display, there you go, and then check on the far right, across. Off to the right.
Oh, hitting the wrong button there.
That one guy. Yeah.
There we go.
Definitely still showing signs
a little bit.
of rotation, but again, that's at around 10,000 feet or so. So that's pretty high up, and at these altitudes, I mean, you're going to be expecting these thunderstorms to be rotating a little bit. It's that near surface rotation that you really got to be concerned about. But as that outflow continues to push its way through, it's got the upper level rotation to support it if it can get that surface level rotation going just a little bit as well. But for the most part, that does seem to be just very outflowy in terms of those winds, but certainly still a little bit of that very brief rotation, especially on that very leading edge, and it just kind of comes and goes as it does continue to go through. So it's not the most promising, but again, it's very likely why that warning is still in effect as of right now.
That would be the possible area on where we could see some of that rotation, or the best possible area, just given some of those, the radar sites and what we can see, even though this is a little bit higher up. So you're talking south of the Dubuque Regional Airport there, near Lamont even. There's Highway 61 still. That kind of is right through it right now, of course. But overall, we haven't seen an extension. We haven't seen the National Weather Service talk about extending this warning, and we're getting real close, and you can see that the thank you. You can see that the overall that this storm, this particular cell, is really starting to outrun the warning box here now. So it's kind of like decision time on what they want to do here, and it might just be allowed to expire, and then we can call it a day here, and that would not necessarily end the severe threat for tonight, but it would be increasingly lower here in terms of what we're seeing as well. That's out of our area. Still looking a little bit there. Yeah, Garrett's kind of trying to hone in on possibly some of those areas where we could see a little bit of that rotation at, maybe near Otter Creek a little bit, just kind of on that leading edge where we got some of those notches maybe, just some indications there of a little bit of inflow that may be helping it out.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, so the overall debris signature is not promising, but however, one thing to point out at least is this large spike basically coming out from that origin. So it's somewhere right around here, at least, in terms of if, I mean, I'm not going to say that is debris by any stretch of the imagination. That could very well just be hail causing that spiking signature, which is very, very, very common. But if it were to be spinning something, that would be at least some form of an indication that there is something that is not necessarily just rain. So whether that's in the form of hail at the moment, but due to the fact it's such close proximity to a potential area of rotation.
And they just expired that tornado warning now, so that will be good for us. So that warning is going to be allowed to expire. They are not going to continue it. And the good news is that should sort of end the severe weather that we see, at least for the rest of today. There still will be this severe thunderstorm warning up there that will be continuing on, but that is getting a little bit closer to the edge of our viewing area, as well as that particular storm is moving its way out of that particular warning box as well. So more than likely they won't be expecting that, but certainly could see some gustier winds from the Dubuque Regional Airport up to Dubuque, down towards Otter Creek, and then that's getting closer to the Mississippi River. But that tornado warning is expired. The tornado warning that was down in Cedar County has been let go from Cedar County. That is pushing its way to the east as well. We're just going to be dealing with some kind of leftover rain. There are still plenty of flash flood warnings out. So if you are anywhere from Cedar County to Johnson County, Washington, Keokuk, and Iowa counties, be prepared for any flash flooding you might run into. That includes in the cities. We've seen many pictures and reports of that, as well as out in those rural roads. Be careful and maybe watch for washouts. But we are done with the tornado warnings for tonight. That threat for severe weather is starting to go down. So we're going to be able to allow things to kind of bleed over a little bit more, allow you to get back to your regularly scheduled programming. We've been doing this a while, so we'll continue to keep you updated here as we go throughout tonight. We've got some reporters out on the ground that will likely have some damage for us, show us some of that flash flooding as well, and we'll probably bring you plenty of pictures and video coming up later tonight on Iowa's News Now at 9 and 10. For now, though, we will get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Get weather warn alerts on all your devices. Stay ahead of the storm with Iowa's News Now Weather First.